Welcome to Mental Health Bites with Dr. Judy. In this podcast, we'll cover a timely topic related to mental health, answer one of your burning questions, and leave you with an actionable tip to improve your mental wellness every single day. Let's dive right in to the timely topic of the day. Today, we're going to be talking about productivity and more specifically, little known productivity hacks that can help you work smarter, not harder. First, we're going to bust some common myths around productivity because there's so many out there. Then I'll answer a listener question about staying productive when you're struggling with mental health challenges like anxiety or depression. And then to finish up, I'll share a practical tip you can implement today to boost your productivity for work or personal projects. When it comes to productivity, there's a lot of advice out there, but unfortunately, much of it is built on myths that don't really work. Let's tackle a few of the biggest myths and talk about what actually helps. Myth number one: to be productive, you need to work harder and longer. This is one of the most pervasive myths out there. Many people think that the more hours they put in, the more they'll accomplish. But the truth is, productivity isn't about working longer, it's about working more efficiently. Research shows that our brains can only focus intensely for about 90 minutes at a time before we start to lose energy and make more mistakes. What actually works is focusing on quality over quantity. Instead of working through exhaustion, try to work in focused bursts and take regular breaks. Studies show that frequent short breaks, even 5 to 10 minutes, actually increase your overall output, improve your creativity, and keeps you energized. Myth number two: multitasking helps you get more done. Wow, this is a big one. The idea that we can juggle multiple tasks at once is a true productivity killer. Your brain actually doesn't work that way. Multitasking may seem like a way to do a lot of things at the same time, but our brains are actually wired to fully focus only on one thing at a time. So, what you think is multitasking is actually switching back and forth between tasks really quickly. And that tends to exhaust your brain very quickly and drains your energy over time. What actually works then is single tasking. Pick one task, give it your full attention, and work on it until it's complete or until you reach a good stopping point. You'll find that not only do you finish tasks faster, but the quality of your work improves too. One strategy to help with this is time blocking, where you dedicate specific chunks of time to one task at a time. This prevents distraction and helps you maintain focus. Myth three: busy equals productive. Have you ever had a day where you felt like you were running around all day, but by the end of it, you realized you hadn't accomplished anything meaningful? Well, that's because being busy doesn't actually mean being productive. It's easy to fill your day with low value tasks that feel urgent, like checking emails or responding to messages, but that doesn't necessarily move you closer to your bigger goals. So, what actually works is prioritizing your tasks by importance, not urgency. The most productive people focus on tasks that have a high impact rather than those that simply fill up their time. One great method for this is using Eisenhower's urgent important matrix. This helps you categorize tasks based on how urgent and important they are so that you can spend your time on what really matters. Myth number four: you need to be constantly motivated to stay productive. Look, motivation is great, but waiting for motivation or inspiration to strike before you get started on something is what mostly leads to procrastination for a lot of people. The reality is that motivation often comes after you've started a task and not before. And that's because of the dopamine process. Dopamine is not just a reward neurotransmitter, it's a motivational transmitter. So once you start to feel good about what you're doing, dopamine is going to surge in your brain. It's going to say, hey, pay attention, do more of this because this feels good and this yields rewards. So you can't wait for motivation to strike you before you get started on something. What actually works is using systems and routines to reduce the mental energy required to start a task. By creating habits and automating parts of your day, you make it easier to dive into work without needing a big burst of motivation every time. For example, if you start your day with the same morning routine, like spending 10 minutes planning your day or using a productivity tool like a to-do list, you're setting yourself up for a productive day, even when motivation is low. And let's do one more myth. Myth number five: the more you plan, the more productive you'll be. Planning is definitely important, but it can easily become over planning, where you spend more time organizing and scheduling than actually doing the work. This is a trap known as analysis paralysis, where overthinking and over planning prevents you from taking action. So, what actually works is using a flexible plan with clear and actionable steps. Give yourself room to adjust as things come up, but don't spend too much time planning out every single detail. At the end of the day, execution is what really matters. Now that we've busted a few myths, here are three simple strategies I recommend to help you stay productive, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. First, start small. When you're feeling overwhelmed, break tasks into the smallest possible steps. Instead of thinking about the entire project, just focus on one tiny task that feels manageable. For example, instead of writing an entire report, set a goal to write just one paragraph. This takes the pressure off and helps you gain momentum. Number two, use energy peaks. Pay attention to when you feel your best during the day, whether it's in the morning, afternoon, or evening. Try to schedule your most important tasks during these high energy periods. This way, you'll have a better chance of completing them without feeling overly drained. Number three, practice self compassion. Remember that fluctuations are part of life, and it's okay if your productivity looks different from day to day. Be kind to yourself. If you can only manage one or two things, that's still progress. Don't let perfectionism stop you from moving forward. Now let's move on to the Q&A segment of the day. This one comes from Mark, and Mark asks, Dr. Judy, I've been struggling with depression and it's been very hard to stay productive. Are there any tips that can help when your mental health is holding you back? Mark, thank you so much for your question. I'm really glad you asked this because mental health challenges like depression and anxiety can absolutely impact your ability to focus, concentrate, and be productive. Depression can make it difficult to find motivation or interest in things. And it can also lead to a delay in starting tasks in the first place because everything feels more overwhelming when you're depressed. So, here are a few strategies that might be able to help. First, lower the bar. It's important to manage your expectations when you're struggling with depression, particularly if you're having a really bad day. Productivity doesn't have to look like big wins every day. So start with micro tasks, tiny actions that are easy to achieve, like tidying up one area of your desk or making a short list. These small wins can then help you build momentum. Two, plan for reset. Recognize that mental health recovery requires rest and reset. It's okay to schedule breaks and self care into your day. Remember, you want to work smarter, not harder. So it's not just about being busy and filling up your schedule, it's about harnessing your energy and doing the best with the energy that you do have on a daily basis. So even brief moments of mindfulness or movement can really help improve your focus and reduce overwhelm. And three, ask for help. If you're struggling with depression, it's okay to lean on others. I know that that can be really challenging to do, especially when you're already feeling down about yourself. But reach out to a therapist, a close friend, some person that you think could help you to reduce that overwhelm, maybe take a little thing off your plate, or even just come over, work alongside you, even if you're working on different projects, just to give you a little bit more of that boost to get started. I hope these tips help, Mark. Be gentle with yourself and remember that even small steps are progress. Now, let's talk about the practical tip of the day. It's called the daily highlight. This is such a powerful and fantastic way to simplify your productivity by focusing on what truly matters every single day. So here's how it works. You're going to start by choosing your highlight. So at the beginning of each morning, ask yourself, what's the most important thing, one singular thing that I want to accomplish today? It could be something work related, like finishing a report, or something personal, like getting a workout in or spending quality time with family. The key is to pick just one thing that, if done, will make your day feel productive. And it's also really important to write this down somewhere, whether it's at the top of your to do list and then box it in, highlight it, or write it at the top of your journal entry for that day. Then you're going to time it. Once you've chosen your highlight, block off time for it in your schedule. This helps you make it a priority and it prevents other tasks from taking over your day. Whether it's 30 minutes or a full hour, try to be realistic in your estimate because sometimes people will try to estimate something that seems like it's going to take less time, but actually ends up taking more time. And that causes them to feel behind. So make sure you're really being very realistic in the way that you're estimating the time that it's going to take. Write that down as well. And then commit to dedicating that time to your highlight. And again, really focusing on just this task and nothing else. So do not be tempted to multitask. So this leads me to the next step, which is to eliminate distractions. So when it is time to focus on your daily highlight, maybe you've scheduled this activity for 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. this morning. A few minutes before, make sure to create an environment where you can fully concentrate. That means turning off notifications, closing unnecessary browser tabs, making sure you've gone to the restroom, you have your water, you had a snack already, and essentially just set whatever boundaries you need to make sure that you don't get interrupted. If you're working with people in a team, or maybe it's a supervisor, just let them know that you're going to be focusing on this project and that you may not get to your emails right away during this hour. It's also helpful to set these expectations ahead of time so that people aren't scrambling to find you. And essentially, you're letting them know this is an hour that I'm going to try to use to be extra productive. And so expect a delay in my communication. But of course, in a case of any kind of emergency, they'll still know where to find you. And finally, really make sure you do this. I know that I say this all the time, but a lot of people are saying, well, that was just a small thing. What's the big deal? But it is important to celebrate your win. At the end of the day, reflect on your highlight. Did you accomplish it? If so, take a moment to celebrate that win. They didn't go perfectly, or you only partially completed the task. Just still giving yourself a pat on the back for what you've been able to do. And it's important then to re-strategize to make sure that you can get the rest of this task completed the next day. So this is a great time during your reflection to write down the challenges that came up and then to come up with a plan that will address those challenges the next day. I like to use if-then statements to help plan for this. It's essentially like a recipe that if you come up with this barrier, then what will you do? You essentially do a fill in the blank. So if I get pulled away to do this other project, then I will negotiate with the person or the team member who I'm working with to start the project at X time in the afternoon rather than at 10 a.m. in the morning when I'm scheduled to finish this task tomorrow. So that's just an example. You can come up with other statements that'll help and make sure to write it down, because then when you see the barrier, there's no extra thinking involved. You just go and read that statement, do what it says, and hopefully that will help you to be on your way to better productivity every single day. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Mental Health Bites with me. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, there's plenty more where that came from. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or any questions you have. Also, feel free to share this video with your friends and family who might find it useful. Stay tuned for more content, and as always, thank you for your support.